Good day, Building Efficiency. This is Andrew DeGuire, Vice President of Acquisitions and Strategy for all of Building Efficiency.
And this is Clay Nesler, Vice President of Global Energy and Sustainability.
So, Clay, what does that mean?
It means I spend my time trying to save the planet for fun and profit.
So is that something like the triple bottom line?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, the triple bottom line relates to economic prosperity, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. Quickest way to remember it is people, planet, and profit.
Perfect. How about I'll take the people and try to make the profit, and you go take care of the planet?
Deal.
So in the second edition of trying to figure out what it is that Warren would do, we went back into the archives again trying to understand other great things that Warren found. And we found a really interesting one.
Right. Now, everyone knows that he invented the electric room thermostat and built the business on that. And many people know through the 125th anniversary that he also built steam trucks for postal delivery and, like hundreds of other companies, was chasing the automotive industry. What far fewer people know is that he actually dabbled in wireless communications.
You mean like radios?
Exactly. In 1899 and 1900, Professor Johnson and Charles Fortier, who was one of his investors and partners in Johnson Service Company, actually started dabbling in wireless. It was one of those hot technologies. Think of the internet in the 90s and clean tech today.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Why would they start playing with that?
Well, Professor Johnson always looked for problems worth solving, and he'd match up appropriate technologies with customer problems. And one of the challenges was actually communicating with the ships that were on Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah. That's how most of the stuff moved at that time.
Exactly. So what he wanted to do was leverage this new type of wireless technology to be able to communicate the ships as they went up and down Lake Michigan.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So what happened with it?
Well, he actually built some prototypes. In the factory at Johnson Service Company at good old 507 East Michigan, he actually put together some experimental receivers and a few transmitters. Now, his early experiments allowed him to communicate from room to room, but that was enough to get him a slot at the World's Exposition in Paris in 1900.
You mean he was going global all the way back in 1900?
He was. And in fact, he named this new company, if you will, American Wireless Telegraph Company.
Wow, that's pretty different.
Yeah, and what's really significant is he won second prize. In fact, he actually ended up beating Marconi, who most people attribute as the inventor of a radio. So at one point, he was way ahead of the curve.
So he solved the customer problem. That's pretty cool. But why isn't the company still doing radio?
That's a really good question. In fact, he knew that he had some technical limitations in his solution, and he found an employee, a recent graduate of Yale University, invited him to join the company. His name was Dr. DeForest. And, of course, anyone who's into technology knows that Dr. DeForest is now considered the inventor of the vacuum tube-based radio transmitters, which have been standard for years and years. In fact, this is what gave DeForest his start. And, unfortunately, in 1903, Professor Johnson decided to discontinue his work in this area. Dr. DeForest carried it forward, and that basic invention was the basis for all radio communications, including the talkie, for years and years.
So he really had found something innovative, but we didn't embrace it?
That often happens. Sometimes the company that actually commercializes, brings to practice, and makes the most money on an invention is not the first person to come up with the idea.
Wow. So really, when we think about innovation, it isn't just about the product, but it's really thinking through how do we apply it and really take it to market to actually go solve the customer's problems.
The value of ideas lies in their implementation and commercialization.
So you mean when my team teases me when I say we actually have to go do something with the idea, that really does matter?
It would be the doing part that's valuable.
Wow. All right. So when we think about what Warren Johnson would do, we actually have to think about the do part, not just the idea part.
Right. One thing we've learned is that great inventors can have a lot of ideas, not all of which will be commercially viable. And most importantly, ideas which you discard, every once in a while it's good to go back and check. Because at one point, it would have been easy for him to get back into the wireless business. Johnson Controls would be a much different company today if he had.
Wow. So we really have to think about what would Warren Johnson do, not just invent.
Right.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.